Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about what they don't tell you about IVF. Honestly, it's just going to be based off my personal experience because obviously we're going through IVF right now. So you guys may know this stuff, but these are just things that I have been writing down throughout our entire journey of things that I didn't know that I feel like are significant. But before I get into the video, I wanted just to show you guys this really sweet thing that a company reached out and sent to me. And since Mother's Day is coming, I think it'd be a really good idea, especially because some of you that watch this channel are already moms and you have mothers. So I just wanted to show this to you guys. So it's this necklace right here that was sent to me by a company called Odin's Baby Boutique. It's a small business, and which is why I want to support them. And it just says Mama Bear, and it has a bear and two cubs. So I'm a really big fan of like the Mama Bear stuff, the t-shirts and all that kind of thing. So when I saw this, I was like, yes, absolutely, of course. And I think that I'm gonna get one of these for my mom and my best friend just because I think it would be just cool for us to have the same necklace. And you can choose how many cubs you have on there. They have like 1, 2, or 3, and they may be able to do even more than that. It's just gonna depend, but the owners are super, super nice. And right now their website has a Mother's Day discount going on, and they were nice enough to send me a code for you guys to use to get 10% off even the Mother's Day discount. So I'll have that link down below for you guys. And I think that this is just a nice, cute, and very wearable, inexpensive gift that you can add on to like your Mother's Day gift. And I think it's just gonna be nice to be able to get one for my mom and my friends that have kids. And it's just cute and wearable and literally matches anything. And they also sent this really, really cute outfit for Aniston that I want to include in like a spring clothing haul, so keep that video in mind. I am going to be posting that for those of you who are interested in those kind of videos. But without further ado, I will go ahead and get into the video, and then don't forget that their website is linked down below. So the first thing about IVF that wasn't really addressed to me in the beginning is just the sheer amount of fluctuation and just the amount in general of office visits that you have to go to. So it's not only office visits and consultations, there's lab appointments because certain labs have to be done at certain times of your cycle. So even if you go in for a consultation on this day, they could want you to come back for labs on this day and then maybe a procedure on this day. And there's just a lot involved in it, especially as far as the pre-testing goes, because just to get to the point of IVF, you have to go through so much pre-testing and lab work and ultrasounds, HSG, sonohystogram. There's just a lot of stuff to go through. So even though they give you a calendar for IVF, once you get to that point finally, even my calendar was not accurate because things that happened along the way changed appointments and even added appointments. So definitely something to keep in mind when choosing a fertility clinic, and especially if we had chosen one that was hours and hours away, I would have had to take like half days and whole days off of work to go to those appointments. And honestly, it just wouldn't have been very easy for me. So just something to keep in mind is just the sheer amount of appointments and the idea that they can definitely change. The next thing that I didn't really know going into it, and most people I don't think know going into it, is the amount of medications. And I'm not talking about the obvious injectable medications because most people know about those. I'm talking about things you don't expect, like birth control for one. Like I had no idea. Birth control, what? It seems very counterproductive, but there's a reason why they do have to have you on birth control. Honestly, that wasn't like the killer for me because when you're doing IVF and you invest so much money, I'm pretty sure most women who do IVF research IVF like crazy and join groups. And there were things like vitamins that I was reading about that helped your chances. So naturally, we spent $15,000 out of pocket. I wanted to like get the best chance that I had. And that involved me taking all these vitamins, and the doctor even recommended some to me. So there were some days that I was taking like 8 different pills of vitamins, and I was taking the birth control pill, a prenatal pill, baby aspirin. I would take like sometimes 12 to 13 pills a day, and it just gets kind of like overwhelming to take that many a day. and I'm not really a good pill swallower, especially when they're like the bigger pills, and even some of the antibiotics were just massive, and so it became very difficult. But yeah, it's definitely something that kind of gave me anxiety, like remembering to take this medication and you're taking some once a day, some 3 times a day. So I was definitely just not prepared for that. The next thing that I really wasn't prepared about, that I never even really heard about, was just like the emotional toll that it took on you, or that it may take on you, because you're gonna start feeling, and this is how, the only way that I can put this to make it like give you an idea, but I pretty much just felt kind of like my body was not mine any longer, because especially when you're like in the midst of taking the medications, you're taking, like I said, sometimes 12, 13 pills or vitamins a day. You're going in every other day and you're getting constant blood draws. You're getting constant intra, like the vaginal ultrasounds. So you're being poked here, you know, being that entry of the ultrasound there, and each day, well, not each day, but each appointment that you go to, which is every other day, it gets harder because your arms start to get bruised up, you start to get really full from all the follicles, and the ultrasounds are uncomfortable. And it's just like too much sometimes. And I remember feeling at the end, which you guys know this, it was just extremely uncomfortable. And I also felt like my body wasn't mine, because I didn't fit in my clothes anymore, because you just start to bloat so bad down there from all the like growing of the follicles. And like my body, I just felt like wasn't even mine. Like I just felt like it was being taken over by fertility world, and it just was not fun. One of like the biggest things that I was not prepared for was just the sheer amount of waiting. So if you've never done IVF or any kind of fertility treatment, I don't know that they even make it known that you are going to be waiting. And I'm going to speak more for IVF on this one, because it's where I noticed it the most. But constantly you're having to wait. So when you go to your consultation, for one, you have to wait to get in, because specialists have schedules that are pushed kind of way out there. And even when we made our appointment to be seen there, it took us like 7 or 8 weeks to get in with them. And so you're waiting for that, then you go in and they tell you, you know, this little plan, and you have to wait for a certain day of your cycle to get labs done. I had to wait for a procedure for my laparoscopy. Then you have to wait for an IVF class before you can even start. And I think probably the hardest part is having to take the birth control for me. That's been like the worst part of the waiting game, because I had to take birth control for 3 weeks right before we started kind of our fresh, what we thought was going to be our fresh cycle. And then after our fresh cycle was canceled due to OHSS and internal bleeding, we moved on to a frozen transfer and had to repeat the birth control all over again. So as of right now, I am still on the birth control, and when you're seeing this video, I only have, I think, 2 days left. I'm so glad. I'm so glad to hopefully be finally off of it. But when you've been trying forever, or what feels like forever, to get pregnant, I'm assuming that if you do IVF, you have been at least trying for some time. Taking birth control for a total of 6 weeks, it just feels like forever. And it's like one of the main things that I have not enjoyed about the journey. The next thing that I really don't think that people tell you a lot about IVF is just the like risks involved. Naturally, I'm speaking for myself because we had kind of a really crazy fluke thing happen. And if you haven't seen that video, I can link it down below or put it in the iCard. But I had heard of risks of OHSS, and my clinic actually changed my trigger shot trying to avoid it, which in the end didn't work, which is like a small percent chance that it won't work. But I just feel like I'm just one of those that got unlucky, and you know, it's not the end of the world. It felt like the end of the world when I was going through it. But now that I'm better, looking back, honestly, I'm just so glad that it's over. Like I cannot stress to you guys how much I'm glad that it's over. But I didn't know the risks of like bleeding internally. I had no idea, because I only ever heard of OHSS. That was it. That was all I heard about. And so going through what I went through, it makes me realize that I kind of took a lot of word for it and didn't actually do my research on what could happen. And when I knew and I was being told that my estrogen level was so high, I really wish I would have looked more into what that meant and what it could cause, and kind of what could happen if you have like too many follicles, which I didn't have too many per se. I just had more than the average person. And some people get even more than I did and they walk away fine. And I just am one of those that didn't. So there's a lot more risk involved than you realize, or at least that I realized. So that's just something that I think that if you're in a position similar to mine, that you really should look into. The last thing that, and I almost don't even want to touch on this because I don't want it to be like disheartening to anyone, but it's the truth and I'm just going to be honest and I'm not going to like sugarcoat things because I just want to be truthful. But one thing about IVF that I didn't realize, and honestly word of mouth can be very deceiving when it comes to IVF, but it is not an end game. I think that some people, even myself included, go into IVF thinking, okay, well, this is the end game. I'm 100% going to get pregnant, have my baby, and be done. But one thing that I've learned, and I've learned this more recently since I've been doing the kind of IVF social media groups, is that a lot of women try IVF multiple times and they fail and they end up not getting their take-home baby. And that breaks my heart, for one, because it's not cheap, especially for people like us who are paying out of pocket, and tons of women who pay out of pocket because their insurance does not cover infertility. So, I mean, most of the time you have a lot better chance with IVF than just trying on your own when you have all these like infertility factors. But in real life, it's not the end game. It's not a guaranteed 100% chance you're going to get your baby. And even listening to some of the success rates were kind of scary. So I'm not going to get into those success rates because they vary depending on what the infertility factor is. If it's male factor, PCOS, you know, whatever the case is, they vary. But I honestly, when you look up the success rates, it can be very scary. Like, I honestly thought they would be like 85%, and it's not even close to that. So when you hear word of mouth, I've heard multiple times that IVF, like, it's like an 80 to 90% chance every time you transfer that you're going to get your baby. And that's not the case. And it's very shocking. And I wish that there was any other method that could guarantee a take-home baby for those mamas and dads who are trying to get their babies and are dealing with infertility. But I'm just grateful that science in general and IVF exists, so we have a chance to try for our babies. But definitely I was surprised when I started looking up success rates versus, so I would search success rates with male factor, success rates with things like PCOS, endometriosis. I just really wanted to kind of research myself and see what the odds were, and it's honestly, it's pretty shocking. And I do know that in our case, I can only speak for us, my fertility doctor said, and again, he has no idea what's actually going to work. I mean, he just knows kind of off his own success rates. But in our specific case, male factor and having to cancel the fresh transfer for the obvious reasons, that with our frozen transfer, we have about a 60% chance of success. I don't know if that means with just one embryo. I'm assuming one embryo. We haven't 100% decided if we're going to transfer one or two yet. Personally, I'd love to transfer two. And I think in the end of the day, it is our decision because friends of mine have transferred two with the same doctor. But I really want to talk to him first before I make that definitive decision. And we still have a little bit of time to decide that. So that's like the biggest thing, is just the success rates. I was shocked when I was reading some stuff on IVF. I just honestly could not believe it. So not to be disheartening, I just want to be honest and let you guys know that because it's something that I did not know about. But that is all for this video, you guys. Thank you guys so much for all of your continued support. I am just grateful for all of you guys. And again, every time that someone reaches out to me and tells me their story, it's crazy to hear like different stories and what people have been through to try to have their babies. And even when I look at my daughter, I just think how lucky and blessed we were to have her. Like, honestly, just got pregnant on our own, had the easiest pregnancy. Like, I'm just still so amazed and feel so blessed more and more every single day. And she just turned 4 and she just really wants to be a big sister. And it breaks my heart that I haven't been able to make her a big sister yet, but this is why we're on this IVF journey. So we are hoping that this does work for us, and if not, we just have to kind of regroup and figure out what we're gonna do. But right now I'm just staying very positive, and my next video I have out for you guys, we will know our calendar and our transfer date. So I'm really excited to share that with you guys and bring you guys along because we are getting so close to transferring our embryos. So I will see you guys in my next video. Don't forget to check out Odin's Baby Boutique and check out these necklaces, especially if you're looking for a gift for your mom or sister or friend for Mother's Day, or even for yourself if you already have babies, or even if you're trying to conceive or pregnant and you want to get one for yourself. There's no shame in that. We are all allowed to treat ourselves, but I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.